I've just been to Buckingham Palace and accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government in his name.
The United Kingdom has got its new Prime Minister, a man of Indian descent. Historic indeed, and a lot of celebrations across the world from people of Asian origin or Indian descent. But the fact is that this is a man who shares his history, his past with 4 countries: Pakistan, India, Tanzania and Kenya. And while there are people from all walks of life in India who are celebrating Rishi Sunak as the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, a country that once colonized India, today has a brown man at the top post. But the big question is he good for India? Now, Rishi Sunak is replacing Liz Truss. Now, Liz Truss has been known to be quite pro-India. So let's compare what Liz Truss's policies were as opposed to what Rishi Sunak's policies vis-a-vis India could really look like. According to the British High Commissioner Alex Ellis, when Liz Truss was Prime Minister, he had said that she visited India more than any other of her cabinet colleagues and would have liked to visit India even as Prime Minister. Unfortunately, that was not to be because her stint was the shortest ever in the history of UK politics. In fact, she's always shown her love for India, her love for Indian food, customs, traditions. Her visit in February 2021 was critical because it was at a time, at a juncture when India and the United Kingdom were looking at the FTA negotiations. The FTA negotiations between India and the United Kingdom have had a lot of niggling issues and irritants. But as political will on both sides, both the leaders wanted a conclusion to the free trade agreement by Diwali. That was not to be. By October end, that also certainly doesn't seem like is going to be. But that certainly was her agenda, that a free trade agreement between India and Britain would benefit both sides of the spectrum. Truss camped for a mutually beneficial balanced deal with both economic and strategic significance. On trade dynamics, she sees India and UK as a sweet spot and looks at the comprehensive trade agreement as covering everything from financial services to legal services to digital and data. Now, as Finance Secretary, Rishi Sunak was very clear. For him, it was to bring back the economy of the United Kingdom. That was paramount. And this was under Boris Johnson's regime. Now, as he put in his hat in the ring to become Prime Minister, he started talking more vociferously about the idea of nationalism versus the idea of practical solutions and being pragmatic. In that, we are looking at the relationship between India and the UK, where Rishi Sunak, mind you, does not just talk about how it is important to get a free trade agreement or a deal with India. He says it needs to be a two-way street, that there needs to be access to British students and companies into India as well. I quote him here when I say, I want to make sure that it's easy for our students to also travel to India and learn, that it's also easy for our companies and Indian companies to work together, because it's not just a one-way relationship, it's a two-way relationship, and that's the type of change I want to bring to that relationship. So clearly over here, Rishi Sunak is going to look at the entire spectrum of financial engagement with India from the prism of what really is best for Britain. Being brown-skinned or being a man of color will not certainly give India an advantage over other countries. Being a man of Indian descent certainly is not going to give India an advantage, because Rishi Sunak is a born and bred Brit. He is going to think British, and he's only going to think for Britain. The election that we saw, where Rishi Sunak took control as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, is not representative of the views of the people of Britain. Why? Because this was not a general election. Rishi Sunak has become Prime Minister after Liz Truss resigned 6 weeks after she came to power, because of the political maelstrom that we've seen in the United Kingdom, with Boris Johnson having to resign forced to resign after all the Partygate scandal and other controversies that revolved around the Conservative Party. Rishi Sunak, or for that matter Liz Truss, were chosen by the party, not by the people, because in 2019, Conservative Party already had the numbers. They'd won the general election, and it was only about getting a leader to lead the Conservative Party and the government till the next general election. After Liz Truss resigning, there was no other. There was nobody else. There was none other than Rishi Sunak who could garner the numbers of the MPs. He still has the numbers and support of the MPs, and is the reason why he is Prime Minister today. But for how long? And is the country, is Britain really ready for a minority Prime Minister? Had this been a general election, would he have really won? That's the question.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News Mo.